Hey guys, Kakarot197 again, and after a bit of a break, I'm back with explaining all of the model numbers. And this time, I'm getting started with the Cosmic Era. And there are so many model numbers in the Cosmic Era to explain that it is too much even for a dedicated video. So this time around, as you've read in the title, it's going to be the Earth Alliance model numbers. At the very least, that enormous amount of model numbers is relatively well documented, as opposed to some other series out there. So it's a good thing I could chill out with some Skillshare, the online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for just about everyone. Whether you want to explore new skills, deepen existing passions, or get lost in creativity, you'll be sure to find something that fits your needs and your level. The other day, I was browsing AliExpress and I found this Arduino board that piqued my interest, but there was just one problem. I don't have a clue how an Arduino works, so I went to Skillshare, typed in Arduino, and I found a bunch of classes on it, like this introduction by Mark Fraunfelder. And of course, there are many other things to learn about on Skillshare, like animation, music, photography, marketing, and much more. New premium classes are also added all the time, meaning that there is always something new to explore. So click the link in the description down below if you too want to start exploring your creativity today. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to do so will get a 1-month trial of Skillshare completely free. So now, without any further ado, let's get right into it. With a few exceptions, most of their mobile suits do follow the same numbering scheme. They all start out with GAT, standing for Gressorial Armament Tactical, or in other words, a tactical weapon that walks on 2 legs. And then for the experimental units, it is followed by an X, a 1-digit number for the frame, and then finally a 2-digit sequential number. The frames that are commonly listed are the X100 frame for general machines, the X200 frame for machines with special equipment, for example, the Blitz's Mirage Colloid or the Forbidden's Geschmeidig Panzer, and then the X300 frame for transformable machines. Now, I do believe that we can also add another frame to that list, although it doesn't start with an X for some reason, and that being the 700 frame. When the Alliance needed a Marine unit, they quickly overhauled the Forbidden into the Forbidden Blue, a unit that wasn't actually designed to go into the deep sea that it was meant to go into. The only reason that that thing didn't explode was because of the Geschmeidig Panzer, which was powered by the same battery as a phase shift armor, so once the battery died, the entire thing died, including the pilot. The subsequent units then, the Deep Forbidden and Forbidden Vortex, had an upgraded frame with a strengthened cockpit that could then withstand that pressure. And this is also when we see the 7 added to the model number. So I believe that that 7 here could mean 700 frame for Marine units. As for the reason for missing model numbers then, like the X101 or the X201, simulation-only units were also given a model number, so it must have taken them quite a few times before they got the Raider Gundam working. And other than the X, there's also the FJ prefix for the Raigo Gundam, which most likely stood for Fujiyama, the company that made the thing. As for the main mass production machines then, they typically just use GAT followed by a 2-digit sequential number. Their variants then, sometimes it was as simple as adding a suffix, like with the 105 dagger or the dual dagger, but it wasn't always this simple. A great example being the Buster dagger. It starts off with GAT, then /A, then it goes with the sequential number of 01 because it is based on the 105 dagger, and then gets the suffix E2 because reasons. Another great example is the N-Dagger N, which starts out all normal with GAT, but then has SO for special operations, a single-digit number 2, and then ends with R, which stands for something. As for the N's in its name then, these are said to stand for Ninja and Neutron. And it wasn't always uniform within the same project. For example, the Actaeon project that gave us upgraded versions of all of the Earth Alliance Gundams from Gundam Seed. The Blue Duel simply gets a 2 added to its model number, presumably because it is either the second version of the duel, or because it is the second duel that then got upgraded into the Blue Duel. Uninspired, but it works. The Barraday Buster, on the other hand, got the suffix AP, which I guess stands for Actaeon Project. Again, uninspired, but it works. It just makes me wonder why they felt the need to mix it up. And then starting with the Strike E, they suddenly felt the need to get all creative and decided that the suffix would reflect what they customized on the machine. So the Strike E got the suffix E for Enhanced, the Narrow Blitz SR for Stealth Reinforced, and the Rosso Aegis AA for Advanced Acceleration. And then for their final 3 machines, they again felt the need to change the suffix, but this time around they just said, fuck it. It is the accent color that we also put in the name. So B for the Blau Calamity, R for the Rot Forbidden, and G for the Gelb Raider. And with those weird cases out of the way, there's also 2 mobile suits that had a different model number for a good reason. The first one is the Destroy Gundam. It starts with GFAS, Gressorial Fortress Armament Strategic, and then follows a slight variation of the Alliance's numbering scheme. It uses X for experimental and is then followed by only a single-digit sequential number. The second one then is the Hyperion Gundam developed by the Eurasian Federation in cooperation with Actaeon Industries. And not only were these units developed independently from the Atlantic Federation, but their model numbers were also completely different. It starts out with CAT, standing for Composition Armament Tactical, then what I believe is a sequential number, X standing for Experimental, and then finally 2 numbers. The last one is the total production amount, and then the first one is the production number of the unit. So for Unit 1, it is 1/3, the first unit of the 3 total units made. Just imagine the bureaucratic nightmare if they decided to make more of these units. Fortunately for them, the project was canned, but a ground type was made. The Hyperion G with a very similar model number. We have CAT-1X, then G for ground type, and then again a unit number followed by 12, the total production amount of these units. Although I have also seen it listed without the production number, so just CAT-1XG. Then 2 of these units were further modified by Actaeon Industries into the Hyperion GL and the Hyperion GR, with the model numbers being CAT-1VGL and CAT-1VGR respectively. V most likely standing for the engineer responsible for the project, Valerio Valeri, aka Double V, the G this time around standing for good, and then the L and the R standing for left and right, because the machines were designed to work as wingmen for the Destiny Impulse R. And that then was unfortunately the end for the Hyperions. But there is still a bit more to discuss because, as we all know, mobile suit theft was quite rampant in the Cosmic Era, and the Earth Alliance had their own dedicated model number for stolen units. This number began with RGX and then a 2-digit sequential number. Unfortunately, we don't know what the RGX stands for, but my best guess would be that the R stands for Rengo, the Japanese name for the Earth Alliance, the G then either standing for Gressorial, like in GAT, or maybe it is the same G that was used in the G weapons. G weapons, of course, being the official designation of the Earth Alliance's Gundams, and unlike what you might be thinking, the G here does not stand for Gundam, but instead, the series itself speculates that it either stands for Genesis or genocide. And then finally, the X most likely stands for experimental, as it usually does. And now we go back to one of the machines that I showed in the beginning of the video, the GAT-X 105 Strike Gundam and its striker packs. On the one hand, we have a numbering scheme that makes sense. All of the Alliance striker packs start with AQM-E and is then either followed by an X with a 2-digit sequential number for the experimental packs, or complete gibberish for the mass-produced packs. And talking about gibberish, we also don't know what any of these letters actually stand for, so have fun coming up with your own theories for things like the AQME A4E1 Jet Striker or AQME M11 Doppelhorn Striker Pack. Like, the best I can think of is the A of the Jet Striker standing for air, the M of the Doppelhorn standing for mid-range, and then the numbers somehow being sequential, with, just as with the mobile suits, the sequence being separate from the experimental units, and then the missing numbers being explained by simulations. One exception here then is the IWSP Striker Pack, which is a slightly overhauled version of Orb's IWSP Striker Pack, which in itself was an upgraded version of the IWSP pack developed by the PMP company. And I think the Striker packs will make the perfect segue to the Alliance's fighters. Their normal ones seem to be following a traditional naming scheme with F for fighter, a sequential number, and then a variant suffix. As for the two experimental units though, we're gonna have to do a bit more guesswork. The FX550 Sky Grasper and the FXET565 Cosmo Grasper. So the start is very simple. FX, fighter, experimental. Followed by ET for the Cosmo Grasper, and you know what? Since the Cosmo Grasper is a space fighter, I'm just going to consider that as extraterrestrial. And then finally, we have a number that might mean something or nothing. The best theory here that I could come up with is that because the Sky Grasper was part of the G project, that it falls in line with the frame numbers. X100, 200, 300, and 700 being used for mobile suits, 400 and 600 currently being open, maybe for a mobile armor that was planned for the G project but never came to fruition, and then 500, well, X500 being for fightercraft. Again, this is purely speculation. And then finally, we get to the mobile armors themselves. Their regular units start with TS for theater suppression, which is then followed by MA for mobile armor, and what appears to be a sequential number. This can then be followed by a variant suffix like mod .00, standing for modification on the Mobius 0, or F for the X's. And for experimental units, we can then have an X after the TS, such as with the Per Grande developed by the Azrael Foundation. The Euclid, though, seems to be in a different class, because rather than having MA, it now has MB, and the sequential number starts at 1 again. Now, since this unit was based on the newer and more powerful Zamzaza and Gelsge mobile armors, I believe that this could potentially be done to emphasize how superior this machine was compared to previous mobile armors like the Mobius. And talking about the Zamzaza and the Gelsge, these unique mobile armors also got their own unique model numbers. Now, unfortunately, these were never officially explained, but after having gone through so many model numbers, I feel like I've got an explanation for these. Both start with YMA, MA for mobile armor, and Y probably for experimental, as we've seen in many previous videos. Next up is a letter to signify the role of the machine. For the Gelsge, which is used primarily for guarding bases, this is a G, guard. And then for the Zamzaza, which is an assault type unit, this is an F, which I believe could stand for firepower, but maybe even for fortress, because even though it's an assault type unit, it is good at everything. It's got heavy firepower and it's also got really good defenses, just like a mobile fortress, so to say. This is then followed by an X, which I guess could stand for experimental. We get what looks like a sequential number and then a suffix that you can use your imagination for. BD for the Zamzaza and F for the Gels Gay. And then finally we have the Mistral, a worker mobile armor with the model number MAW01. And this then most likely stands for Mobile Armor Worker number 1. And that has been all for the Alliance's model numbers. If you think I missed something or you found the meaning of some of the numbers and letters that I couldn't find, let me know down below and I will tackle them in the next video. Hopefully that one will cover the rest of the Cosmic Era, but it is always difficult to tell how long something is going to be until I actually start working on it. Like, this video was meant to be all of the Cosmic Era when I started working on it, but then when I got halfway the Alliance machines, I noticed that my script was already getting way too long. But anyways, that has been all for the Earth Alliance's model numbers. A big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Again, a link down below. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great day, and I'll see you all next time with more model numbers.